Hi everyone, my name is Holly St. Clair, and today I'm going to be doing my presentation on is there such thing as sustainable fishing. Before I begin, I want to give a little inspiration on where I got this idea from. I don't know if any of you guys have watched Netflix series, well it's not a series, the Netflix documentary on Seaspiracy. Um, it's a really good documentary and I really enjoyed watching it, so if you enjoy my presentation and want to learn more about it, I highly recommend watching that. It was very eye-opening for me and it was a great documentary. So to begin, I don't know if anybody knows what sustainable fishing is, but sustainable fishing is leaving enough fish in our oceans, respecting our habitats, and the people who depend on fishing can maintain their livelihoods. The NOAA, which is the National Oceanic Atmospheric Association, claims that from wild capture fisheries to farmed fish facilities, the United States is a recognized global leader in sustainable seafood. So they claim that we're pretty high up there on our sustainable fishing. And just a trigger warning before I begin this, there is going to be a lot of fish caught in nets, and it is very sad. So if you're sensitive to that stuff, just a forewarning. Okay, and now I'm going to go into statistics on our ocean and some stuff about sustainable fishing. Less than 5% of the world's oceans are protected. And if you don't know, 70% of Earth's surface is our ocean. So that's almost near to nothing of our oceans are protected. One study estimated that half of our fishing operations in the high seas, waters outside any national jurisdiction, would be unprofitable without government support. Meaning that our government is supporting these big commercial fishing industries, and they wouldn't be profitable without our government. Every year, around 250,000 plus turtles, 100 million plus sharks, and 300,000 plus small whales and dolphins are killed from bycatch. If you don't know what bycatch is basically when you're fishing for something and you kill another animal in the act. So if I'm fishing for tuna and I kill sea turtles, the sea turtles would be the bycatch. And a lot of bycatch is due to different fishing methods that our commercial industries use to catch our fish. So the big three ones that we use are long line, trawling, and drift net. Long line, shown here, is just a long line of wire with baited hooks attached at intervals. And shown here are the different animals that were caught in bycatch. So we have stingrays, sea turtles, sharks, and even birds can get caught in them. Trawling is, in my opinion, one of the worst ones. That's basically is when you pull a fishing net through water behind one or two boats, shown here. And why it's such a big deal is because you're basically taking a big net and just dragging it along our corals and our sea floor. So you're breaking up the corals, all the dust, and you're destroying a lot of habitats for our marine life down there. And the drift net is shown here. It's just a net hung vertically across the water. And under the water, they call it ghost nets because you can't see the nets. Like if you were a fish and you're underwater, you can't really see these nets. So you're just going along on your natural day, normal, and you get caught and bycatch or get caught. And for some of our sea turtles and sharks, get entangled up in them as well. And if you don't know, they just throw the fish back out there. We don't end up keeping them. Is plastic the issue? The reason why I say this is because a lot of these big industries want to promote to stop using plastic. However, that isn't the issue. A lot of places have started using paper straws and a lot of paper products, and I'm not saying that that's not good, because plastic isn't good for our environment, and I'm glad that we made these precautions, but there's a bigger picture here that we need to look at. Plastic straws, which get much more attention than these fishing nets that get left behind in our oceans, only contribute to 0.3% of ocean's plastic waste. less than 1% of plastic bags are accounted for in our ocean. And we're actually recycling more than we are throwing out our plastic products. And every year, at least 640,000 tons of discarded plastic equipment is dumped or lost at sea from our fishing commercial companies. As shown here, they get tangled up in our coral reefs and they just get left behind. And those are actually accounting for a lot more of our ocean's damage and plastic left behind from our fishing companies. What can you do to help? Reduce the intake of fish in our diets. And I bold reduce because I understand that we're not going to stop eating seafood. I love seafood, don't get me wrong. I eat it once a week. Well, I've actually cut back a lot more than I have, but I love seafood. And I understand it's a big part of our daily diets and protein for people. But they have made a lot of plant-based tuna, salmon, and fillets now where you can get your protein. It's shown here, garden-grown protein. Like I said, I understand we're not going to stop, but even if you eat seafood, twice a week, cut back to one time a week. Or if you're thinking about getting seafood at a restaurant, rethink it and think, where is my fish coming from? Is it really sustainable? Are they really taking care of these fish like they say they are? As a whole, what are we doing? 14 countries have pledged to end overfishing and restore our fishing populations. The United States was not one of them. And then we are killing more fish than we are catching and selling, eventually ruining our food chain in our ocean. Like I said, with bycatch and destroying our ocean's floor and habitats for all these other fish from these fishing industries, we're actually doing more damage than we are profiting, if that makes sense.